everyone, welcome back to EEC Podcast. I hope you're doing well today, whether you're listening on the way to class, during a break at work, or maybe just winding down at home. Wherever you are, thanks for choosing to spend a little bit of your time with us. Now, if you've been following along, you know this is the space where we dive into real stories and feelings, the kind of stuff we sometimes keep to ourselves, but that connects us when we finally put it into words. And for anyone who's joining us for the first time, hi, I'm Elsa, and I'm so glad that you're here. Today's topic is one that I think almost everyone can relate to at some point: lonely or just riding the waves. You know, those moments where life feels heavy and uncertain, and we ask ourselves, am I truly lonely, or am I just going through a rough patches that will eventually pass? And of course, I won't be navigating this alone. I'm joined by someone who has really thoughtful insights, Hafiz. Hi Hafiz, how are you doing?
Yeah, well, everything seems boring these days. I keep wake up in the same room and I keep doing the same thing. But yeah, life is pretty good. At least that's what I see in my life right now.
Glad to hear that. We're very excited to finally have you here today. Without further ado, let's get into things. You know, sometimes we confuse being tired with being lonely. Like after a long week, I just want to shut my door and binge a series. That doesn't mean I'm lonely, it just means I'm recharging. But then, there are other times where I could be surrounded by people and still feel empty. So, Hafiz, when you hear the words lonely and riding the waves, what comes to your mind?
Well, lonely and right ways. Well, first of all, I'm gonna explain difference between lonely and alone itself. You know, being alone, it doesn't mean that you have to be lonely. And in a first way, being lonely doesn't mean that you are alone, right? Being alone means that you are literally on your own in the same room. You don't see nobody, you don't see your parents, you don't see your friends, you don't see anyone in your eyesight. And you just see your reflection, maybe your whole body, your clothes, and something like that. That's being alone, you know. Sometimes being alone is a freedom itself. It's not a lonely way, but sometimes people just need some space to recover from a bad day, recover from something that traumatizes them. Now, being lonely, on the other hand, is a feeling when you feel empty. You know, you are feeling empty, no matter where you are, no matter how many people surrounded you, and somehow you still feel empty. For example, you attend to a party, all right? You attend to a party or a friend's wedding, and you don't see yourself as someone important. You don't see yourself as someone who should exist in their events, in their weddings, in their parties, or whatever. You know, you see yourself as someone who should not exist in this universe, someone who should not exist in this meaningless void. You know, maybe you think to yourself, why should I exist in this meaningless universe, uh, in this world, in this ground, I suppose. Because maybe you should think, maybe I should just live on the moon instead of living in this universe. And keep thinking to yourself, what's wrong with me? Did I do something wrong with people? Did I do something bad to other people? Or maybe I'm just being myself. So and other people cannot see it. Well, well, the only answer is you know there's no answer for that. I mean, yeah, well, what I'm trying to say is being lonely means that you are feeling empty, even though you are surrounded by some of the people. even some of the people that you know in your life, someone who is really close to you, and somehow you just feel empty, the empty feeling, not sad, not happy, not angry, just nothing. There's a void in your heart, there's a void in your brain, I suppose. And yeah, that's the difference between alone and being lonely itself. Now, riding the waves. Well, I just heard it this morning, I suppose. I never heard of that phrase before. But riding waves. I don't think there's a phrase that you should ride in the waves. What I see it. If you see a waves, or if you see a waves in the ocean, in the river, in the whatever lake or something like that, you got two choices. You either swim for it, you either swim through the waves, or you just run, run back to your house, run back to your belongings to avoid yourself from that wave. And surely there will be some consequences if you try to avoid the wave, trying to leave your wave. There will be consequences for that, whether you like it or not. There will be always be consequences if you're trying to leave that wave. And in this case, riding the wave means the wave itself means a wave of loneliness, not a wave of the ocean literally, but it's a wave of loneliness, right? So what I'm trying to say is, if you face loneliness, if you face that empty feeling, sometimes the only way is just swim through it. You just have to face it instead of running from it. You just have to face it, because who knows? Maybe if you're trying to run for it and you are not well prepared for the next wave, and maybe I wouldn't call it next wave as the wave, but maybe there will be a bigger wave. No, it's not just a normal wave. Maybe it's a tsunami, all right? If you know tsunami, what I mean, right? It's a tsunami of loneliness. And if you are not prepared for that, well, pretty much you are feeling more empty than before. You are feeling that, why should I live in this place? Maybe I should just die instead, because nobody cares about me. Everybody's nobody nowadays, because everybody is too busy focusing on their own stuff. So yeah, I mean that's what I'm trying to say. Riding the waves. There's no such thing as riding the waves, in my opinion. There's well, swim through waves is the most suitable phrases for that. There's no riding through the waves. It sounds really stupid from me for people to ride the waves. Well, yeah, maybe that's all I can say. I'm sorry if I can't manage my word correctly, because I never heard that phrase, and I just had some bad time facing loneliness, and maybe if I am willing to share it, maybe I will do it. Back to you.
What mindful insights. I agree, we do need some time to recover from things. And I admit, I kind of felt lonely in a crowd too sometimes. I guess that's a universal experience, huh? I think many listeners will nod their heads at that. But here's the tricky part. If I'm sitting at home thinking, am I lonely or do I just need a nap? How do I tell the difference? What signs should people notice?
Well, if you know if you're lonely or not, maybe the first the first step that will ensure you if you are lonely or not. Maybe you should just see a shrink instead of judging yourself if you have this lonely feeling or not. If you have this, I don't know, that empty feeling. Maybe I have some other mental health problem. And if you're thinking like that, maybe you should just see a shrink instead of thinking about yourself, thinking about that you have this lonely feeling, and it will affect your work, affects your performance on doing your job. Maybe you should see a shrink for yourself. But if you don't want to waste your money, you should just talk with other people and see the result. Talk with your friends, talk with your parents, talk with your, I don't know, someone who are outside in your house, I suppose your neighbor or something, and see how you feel. Do you feel empty? Do you feel uh, bright? I mean, um, most people just can't see if they're lonely or not by not talking with other people. What I'm trying to say is, um, you can cure loneliness by just talking with other people. That's the easiest way to cure loneliness, if you're asking me, and that's also a way to know whether you are lonely or not. Because being lonely itself, it doesn't mean that you are scared of other people. That's two different things. Being lonely and social anxiety, that's a completely different thing. But being lonely, maybe you should just need some connection with other people, some real connection with people, not with online people, not with AI or something like that. A connection, a real connection. And maybe if you suck at talking with people, if you suck at making a small talk, maybe you should just talk, but talking to yourself, right? Talking to yourself about how you feel in front of your mirror, talking to your reflection, right? See what do you feel right now. See what the what the world does to you. Is it something bad or is it something good? And if it does something bad, what can I do for it? What can I try to fix it, instead of judge myself if I'm lonely, which doesn't fix your problem permanently and temporarily, and also increases your maybe increases your chances of getting another mental health problem. Well, yeah, well, if you think that I'm talking crap, well, it's okay, because I'm not a shrink, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not someone who is an expert for this, but I'm trying to say what I feel. I'm trying to say what comes on my mind, and if it hurts you, then all I gotta say is I'm sorry. So yeah, I'm giving it back to you.
Yeah, that's such a practical way to see it. Like, if my hangout with friends still makes me smile, I'm probably okay. But if nothing sparks me joy anymore, that's kind of a red flag. Listeners, think about your own routines. When's the last time you talked to other people? Alright, next I want to dig into the consequences a bit, because sometimes we brush it off like, oh, it's fine, I'll get over it. But if loneliness stick around, what kind of impact does it really have?
Well, I suppose I had to say that it depends on the people or the person who faced the loneliness itself. Because for me, loneliness is not a disease. It's not a virus. It's not a bacteria that will harm you or cause you any damage. But well, surely from the outside, maybe it looks like a virus. But if you take a good point from loneliness, it can actually help you to grow. It can actually improve yourself. Maybe you can find your purpose from the loneliness that you are facing right now. Maybe you are finding something meaningful from the loneliness itself, because you know loneliness means that you have to do everything on your own. You have to do whatever it takes for yourself, because that's that empty feeling. You can't share it with other people. You can't let other people see it inside through your soul, because maybe if you tell it, they will laugh at your soul, they will laugh at your face, and you don't want that to be happen, right? At least that's what most of people think, if they share their lonely feeling, their lonely moment with other people. Okay, back to the question. Is there any consequences from the loneliness itself? Well, I suppose there is, or maybe lot of consequences from loneliness. Well, for me itself, in a good way, I found a purpose from loneliness itself. I found my real character. I found my real characteristic from for me to continue my life. A real personal character that fits in my story that I live right now. That I'm gonna live it until the end of my day, the end of my life. And the character itself, it's as I mentioned before, it's you know characters from movies, from video games like that, and I love broken characters. I mean, characters who are feeling lonely at most of the time, but at the same time, they also tend to grow something from themselves that they can do and they can achieve. And obviously, they don't depend on other people of doing their things. They do things on their own, in their own way, without people telling them what to do. And I found it very interesting. For example, a character like Rustin Cohle, it's a character from True Detective. I love him a lot. I see him as a hero of my life. I see him as someone who always. And Rustin Cohle is he's a pessimist character. I mean, he's not a optimist character like most of the hero does, but the the way that he dealt with his problem is just unbelievable. It's just not so normal, but uh, but wait a second. Let me try to scramble my word. Well, the only way, I mean, the thing that Rustin Cohle does to solve his problem is just unbelievable. It's just abnormal, and I loved it. And abnormal, it doesn't mean that he has to break some rules or he has to do some bad things or wrong things. No, but the way I see it in his life, in his deal dealing of facing some problems, I just loved it. Maybe I can recommend you to watch True Detective season one. It's a very good show. It kind of gives me a whole personal character for myself, for my story, a story which I'm gonna live it every day and forever. Okay, for the second consequences is in a bad way. Maybe loneliness can ruin you if you look it in a bad way. Maybe it can ruin your life because you don't have anyone else. You feel empty. You don't know how to deal with other people. You don't know how to face your own problems because you don't have that connection with other people. A real emotion, emotion connection, not just a connection of business or something like that, but emotion connection, like as simple as talking about how you feel in real life, or what are you gonna say to other people, and because you are lonely, you feel empty. You tend to maybe you tend to ruin your life. You tend to even harm your life, even harm your belongings, harm your existence. Maybe you're trying to hurt yourself, and that's not a very good thing to do. Harming yourself and thinking that I should have just died instead of living in this meaningless void. And yeah, that's what happened. Well, not in most of the people, but to some of the people who face loneliness in some certain areas, in their certain problems. And I see it as a problem, because it doesn't help you to grow. Instead, it will harm you. It will make you feel miserable. and makes your day much more worse than usual. And yeah, well, that's a second consequences. Well, for the third one, maybe that's all I can say for consequences of loneliness. Because if I say it a lot in here, maybe I could say it for an hour, 2 hours, which will not suitable for this video. So maybe I'll give it back to you. Thank you.
Alright, how you metaphor it with characters from movies is honestly interesting. Maybe some of you know that feeling too. When the schedule is packed, you'll be fine, but the second it's quiet, everything feels heavy. Okay, now let's flip this around. If someone listening right now realizes, yep, that's me, I think I might be lonely. What do you think is a healthy way to deal with it? Because ignoring it clearly isn't the answer.
Well, if you're asking me, let me clarify this first, right? I'm not a shrink. I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't have any medical medical bachelor or something like that. I'm just someone who is not very important in my life, I suppose, or maybe in other people's life. And I don't find any healthy way to deal with loneliness, right? I don't find it any. Uh, I don't see it as a permanent solution to your problems, to your loneliness, something like that. Because people will actually come and go. People will, if you love them a lot, maybe if you love them a lot, they will eventually die, and that's the harsh truth that you should know. People will come and go. They will leave you, whether you are ready or not. They will leave you behind. They will leave you for this awful world, I suppose. So if you're asking me, I don't find any healthy way to deal with loneliness. But well, if you're asking me about some things that uh, steps or way to overcome your loneliness feeling, um, well, yeah, what I did is I cope with a character, right? As I mentioned before, I cope with a character named Russell Coho from True Detective, and I see him as a hero. I see him as someone who saved my life. I mean, I don't mean to be so dramatic. I don't mean to be so delusional or something like that. But yeah, that's what happened. That's what I did a year ago when I started to feel this lonely feeling in my life when I was rejected by by a university which I really wanted to go, which I really wanted to be accepted, but instead I got rejected, and I didn't tell to my parents about it. I didn't tell about. Sure, my parents knew about my rejection, knew that a university that I wanted a lot rejected me, but I didn't express my feeling a whole much. I didn't express it fully, but instead I cope it. I watch movies. I watch movies about characters who are lonely. A character which who they cope with their problems with their own mind, and they deal it with some certain ways. Some of them good, or maybe some of them are bad. Characters like Rustin Coho from True Detective, as I mentioned before, and the driver from the Drive movie, came out in 2012, 2011. Blade Runner, uh, Officer K, I love him a lot, and in a good way. Another lonely character named Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver. Well, there's there's a nickname for them, lonely characters, sad characters. It's called literally me characters, and I love sorry, literally me characters. All right, it's one of the phrases to describe characters who are lonely, who are uh, dealing with their own problems with their own way, and they don't depend on other people because maybe because they are sick of what the world gave to them. They are sick of what people think about life. They are sick about what people do right now because people nowadays are not too are not very careful. Are not very careful about their surroundings, right? They just focus on their own stuff. They're just distracted by their own phone, something like that. And I found that character very relatable for my life because yeah, well, it helps me to cope with my problems. And at certain points, those characters are starting to live within my soul, and I don't want to uh, cut their characteristic out in my life because I love them a lot, and it helps me to deal and solve with deal and face with my new problems, with my new upcoming problems. But well, I don't think it's a healthy way to cope with loneliness. I don't think it's a healthy way to um, it's a good way to deal with your loneliness, overcome your loneliness. But well, at least if I ever feel lonely again, I wouldn't feel that much hurt as I felt before. I wouldn't feel more miserable than I felt before by coping with a character that is purely fictional, I suppose. And yeah, well, as I mentioned before, I'm not a shrink. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not someone who are very good in this mental health problem. But yeah, well, I'm sorry if my answer are making you disappointed. But I'm just saying things that comes in my head. I'm just saying things based on my experience, based on what I did or what I felt a year ago, 2 years ago, yesterday, maybe this morning. Yeah, I'm telling you um, what I saw, what exactly what I heard, and what exactly what I thought. And if the answer is making you disappointed, then I'm really sorry, all right? Because again, I'm not a psychiatrist or a shrink or someone who gives you good advice about life, who gives you some uh, I don't know, some delusional good things about life. Maybe you are you're good. You're not a terrible person. Well, I see myself as a terrible person. I gotta tell you, right? I see myself as someone who who doesn't want to run with their problems, but instead of well, I'm trying to fix my problems, but it in my certain own ways. And um, a lot of people, especially my family, don't see it as a good way to um, deal with my problem. Now, I'm not saying any addiction or something like that. Yeah. Well, no. I mean, I didn't. I wasn't addicted to some kind of thing like smoke or something like that. Something that I can't say in this video, but yeah, I dealt with my problems by coping with a characters, by let their characteristic absorbed into my soul, let their characteristic um, eat my soul. They are starting to live inside my soul and inside my mind. Talk like them, and something like that. All right, back to you, I suppose.
All right, thanks for sharing your insight. I love how you keep referencing some movies. I think we have a movie lovers here. Listeners, think about it. Do you choose your quiet time to grow, or do you fall into it because you're hiding? That little difference changes everything. All right, let's last but not least, before we close, I want you to picture this. Someone's lying in bed tonight, scrolling through their phone, asking themselves, am I lonely or is this just a rough wave? If you could talk directly to them, Hafiz, What would you say?
Well, as I mentioned before, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a person who is very good at speaking. I'm not a person who always gives good advice. I'm telling you what I felt. I'm telling you based on reality, on what happened right now in this world, what happened in my life. Well, if you face loneliness, right, as I mentioned before, uh, like the waves, there's no such thing as riding the waves, right? If you see a wave, if you see some light, I don't know, if you see if you see a wave, you just have to swim through it instead of running from it. You just have to swim through it, because if you try to run, you know, that wave will eventually come to you. That wave will eventually strikes you back. Maybe worse than the wave. Maybe it's not a wave anymore. It's a tsunami, like I mentioned before. Um, yeah, maybe if you face loneliness, maybe the only way uh, to face it, to overcome it, by making an inner peace for yourself. You know, just swim through it. Just face it. Face your loneliness instead of running by finding a girlfriend, finding a boyfriend. Well, some of the people will find it eventually work by finding a girlfriend, but it's just temporarily, because the inner problems in your soul is not solved yet, and yet you find another person to fix your problems, which they cannot fix it, because another person means uh, means they can fix your problem. The only way to fix your problem is yourself. You have to fix your problems instead of making someone else to do it. Instead of making someone else to fix your problem, you have to do it by yourself. There's no other way for it. There's no fairy tale stories that um, there's a princess or there's some prince that comes to save you as a shining knight with their armor, comes to your life and maybe save you. No, that's not a there's not a story about that, right? This is the real world we live. If you have a problem, if you face loneliness, you gotta face it by yourself. Well, maybe if you have the sheer strength, um, then go ahead, be my guest. It's your problem. I mean, every person, every people have some certain solution to deal with their problems, to solve their problems. All right, and I don't judge them. I'm not saying it's wrong to do some certain things to solve every person's problem. No, but as I mentioned before, uh, like again, the only way to deal with your problems is yourself. You have to deal your problems by yourself. I mean, sure, you can seek help from other people, but they can only help you from the outside. They cannot help you from the inside, because the only way to help you from the inside is yourself, and you can't share it with other people. So yeah, that's all I can say, I guess. Thank you.
Yeah, that's so comforting, encouraging. Swim through it, people. I think a lot of people need to hear that. Wow, what a conversation. Thank you so much, Hafiz, for sharing your thoughts and experiences with us today. It really gave us so much to reflect on. And to all of you listening, remember, feeling lonely doesn't mean you're broken, and going through the waves doesn't mean you're weak. Both are part of being human. So tonight or tomorrow, whenever you catch yourself wondering about this, take a deep breath and remind yourself the waves always come down. Thank you for tuning in and spending this time with us. Don't forget to take care of yourself, reach out when you need to, and hold on to the little things that make you feel alive. We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, this has been EEC Podcast. Bye for now.